Hey guys, Al here, Vitalize Seed. I hope everybody's doing well. Interesting topic today. Well, hopefully, at least. I'm really interested in this because I've had this theory for a little while now. And, after a few years of selling the Vitalize Seed carbon load, there's a few things that have come up that I find to be really, really interesting. And one of them is that this time of year, there's a lot of people on social media posting, man, I planted this turnip plot or this, monoculture brassica plot or something like that. And man, it came out great. And they'll show pictures that are absolutely beautiful and big bulb production, etc. But what they will not show, or what they're upset about or frustrated about, is that they say the deer won't eat the brassicas. And you'll have a range of response, right? A deer never will touch them, to the next guy who says, deer hammer them, to the next person who says that it takes a few years. The deer have to kind of learn, what it is. And there's probably some validity to that. But I also think there's more validity to, or at least some food for thoughts. I'd love to hear what other people think is, as I've dove more into soil biology and understanding plant physiology, one of the things that's always been really interesting to me is, the role nitrogen plays not only in the soil, and of course we know it grows plants, right? Creates leafy, if your lawn looks yellow, what do? Give it nitrogen to make it, greener. But really, what nitrogen does within the plant, specifically for plants that we want people to eat and or animals to eat, is help to create plant protein. So it acts as a it helps to synthesize amino acids into plant proteins. However, if you have excessive nitrogen, it can stress the plant, and it can also cause misshapen proteins to happen. I think Dr. Christine Jones calls them funny proteins. But a way of thinking about that too is like if you read about cattle grazing studies in the summer, if it's been a really dry summer and the plants are under a lot of stress, they'll have high nitrate levels, but they won't be able to convert that nitrate into or use it to synthesize into plant protein, which can be detrimental to cattle to feed on. So they always say to get the silage checked before feeding, because of that nitrate level, which could lead to nitrogen toxicity. So what does this have to do with brassicas and or food plots? Well, I think that a lot of times we have these blind recommendations to go in, till, so you're releasing a ton, depending on the CEC and organic matter of the soil, you're mineralizing a ton of nitrogen right there, which, yes, that's organic nitrogen, but if you have followed any of our stuff on the nitrogen cycle or others out there on YouTube, you'll know that it's going to get converted to nitrate at some point. It's going to get assimilated by the plant at some level, specifically a high rate of brassica seeds, which most food plotters are going to put down 6 to 8, 10 pounds per acre. It's going to absorb a lot of that nitrate. And I question is maybe it's not converting it all to plant protein. You're getting these misshapen proteins. And although visually and observationally, we're looking at these plants saying, well, daggum, they look great. They have a big bulb. They grew big. It's not always that simple, because the plant could have leafy structure and look healthy, but that doesn't mean that it's all been converted to plant protein. Similarly, we don't have anybody when we're using our diverse mixes that say, oh, they only picked out the grains and the clovers, they didn't touch the brassicas. It's pretty much evenly ate right across the landscape that it's planted in. So that makes me think that now we're working towards reduced, tillage. We're working towards no-till, folks. We're working on soil health, so reduce inputs, etc. But it also makes me think that there's an even distribution or uptake of nitrogen, or nitrate in this case, that's allowing the plants to have much better conversion rates, which, as we know for whitetail specifically, as concentrated selectors, they're seeking out that beneficial higher protein, fully formed protein plants versus the plants that were kind of force fed. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with monoculture brassicas, that we're trying to grow the biggest bulbs. So how have we been taught to do it? We've been taught to do it through a lot of times tillage, really firm seedbed, and pounding it with nitrate, with no vision into what is the actual soil test telling us for that. So I think if you want to get a good brassica plot in there and test attractiveness, I really do believe that sometimes a lot less is more, and I think you get a lot better conversion of fully plant proteins if you were to consider that. So that's just my theory on this. Again, there's a lot of information on how nitrogen works as a protein synthesis or catalyst and helps those plant proteins to form. So I'd be interested in, what do you all think? Because again, on my farm, and I've planted these in this mix, a carbon load in ag country. I mean, there's like a few 100-acre soybean next to the one farm, and we have deer in it from the time we plant it till, or I mean, deer still in it feeding. On my farm where there's no ag around, it's big timber. You all have seen it. I mean, the deer have absolutely hammered it. So we're not seeing that phenomenon, but we're also not planting monoculture brassicas relying on nitrogen in and of itself. We're allowing the 1-2 system to feed our plants and feed our soils, and also why I think it's worth considering things like fish fertilizer. We just came out with our own, plus humics, that are going to help to stimulate that biology, so that your plants are uptaking things that have amino acids in it, stimulating biology, so it's taking up things and has the energy it needs. The humics can act as a stress mitigator so that you're reducing the likelihood of those misshapen proteins, and you're getting fully formed plant proteins. So hopefully that's something, at least food for thought, guys. I'm kind of interested in what do you all think, but that's the only theory I've been able to come up with as to why there's so much variability in the in what deer like, from one to the next as far as across the whitetails range. And I don't know. Seems like across, we sell from Maine to Texas, and nobody has told us, oh, they're not eating the brassicas, which is a pretty large sample size for me to really say something else is happening here other than just the plant profile or something like that that's causing the whitetail deer not to pick it out, but something that when it's planted in a monoculture, something else is happening that's causing that plant not to be as desirable as the one that's planted in a mix. So those are some of my theories. I'd love to get feedback, guys. And if you like this stuff, please tune in, share, follow along, and check us out at vitalizeseed.com.